I'm 32-year-old woman spent entire adult life believing in equity and fairness across all systems. Genuinely thought I understood power dynamics better than most people. Always saw myself as someone who could identify oppression wherever it existed. 4 years ago, little brother Dylan announces engagement to Stephanie. Stephanie seemed amazing at first. Successful pharmaceutical sales rep, came from good family, volunteered at animal shelter. Whole family loves her immediately. Then Dylan brings up the prenup at family dinner. My blood starts boiling. I actually feel my jaw clench. Dylan, seriously, you're gonna start your marriage by telling Stephanie you don't trust her? He tries to explain. Says it's just practical. Says his business professor recommended it. Dylan inherited Dad's small manufacturing company when Dad died 3 years ago. Also got the family house, the one Grandpa built in 1952. House worth maybe $800,000 now. Company does about $2 million revenue annually. I go into full lecture mode. This is exactly what's wrong with how men view marriage. You're treating it like a business transaction instead of a partnership. Mom agrees with me, says prenups are unromantic. Dylan looks uncomfortable but stands firm. I'm doing this regardless of what anyone thinks. Stephanie already agreed to it. This makes me even angrier somehow. Of course she agreed. Dylan, what choice did you give her? Sign this or no wedding. Spend the next few weeks trying to talk him out of it. Send him articles about how prenups get thrown out in court anyway. Tell him he's internalized misogynistic ideas about women being gold diggers. Explain that marriage is supposed to be about combining lives completely, not protecting assets. He listens politely, but doesn't budge. Wedding happens. Beautiful ceremony. I'm maid of honor despite our disagreement. Push my feelings about the prenup aside. Tell myself Dylan is just young and naive. Influenced by men's rights garbage online, probably. First year of marriage seems perfect. Stephanie and Dylan buy a dog together. She's always at family dinners, remembers everyone's birthdays, posts cute couple photos constantly. I start thinking maybe the prenup won't matter since they'll obviously never divorce. Year 2, Stephanie suggests Dylan sell the manufacturing company. It's so much stress, babe. You could invest the money and we could travel. Maybe move to Denver where my sister lives. Dylan says no, says the company employs 40 people who've been there for decades. Some of those guys worked for our dad. Few worked for our grandpa. Stephanie drops it. Seems understanding. Year 3. She brings it up again, more insistent this time. Dylan tells me she started complaining about the house too. She says it's old-fashioned, wants to sell it and build something modern. I tell him that's normal couple stuff. Compromise is part of marriage. Internally, I'm thinking he's being stubborn about material things. Year 4. Stephanie gets weirdly close with some divorced woman from her yoga class. Starts making comments about how marriage is work and shouldn't be this hard. Dylan seems confused, says he didn't think things were hard. She starts going out more without him. Then one day, Dylan calls me, voice shaking. Steph wants a divorce. She just told me this morning. I drive over immediately. He's devastated, clearly blindsided. Tells me Stephanie said she grew apart from him and needs to find herself. I hug him. Tell him it'll be okay. People divorce all the time. Secretly, I'm angry at Dylan thinking he caused this somehow with his emotional unavailability or something. Couple weeks later, Dylan meets with his lawyer, comes back looking pale. Stephanie's attorney sent their demands. She wants the house, wants 50% of the business, wants alimony despite making $90,000 a year herself, wants the investment accounts, wants the new truck Dylan bought last year. Basically wants everything except his personal clothing. My first instinct is still defensive of the system. Well, Dylan, that's how community property works. You did build life together for 4 years. He looks at me like I slapped him. Sarah, she wants Grandpa's house. The house Dad died in. The house where we spread his ashes in the garden. Something shifts uncomfortably in my chest, but I push it down. Maybe you could buy her out of her share. With what money? If she gets half the business, I'd have to liquidate it to pay her. Those 40 employees lose their jobs. This is starting to actually bother me now. Dylan shows me the prenup his lawyer drew up. It's actually incredibly fair. Anything inherited stays separate property. Anything built during marriage gets split 50-50. Business stays with Dylan. Any increase in business value during marriage gets split. House stays with Dylan. No alimony unless marriage lasts 10 plus years. Both parties keep their own retirement accounts. I read it 3 times. Realized Stephanie signed this knowing exactly what it meant. She had her own lawyer review it. I remember Dylan insisting on that. Still, my brain tries to find the unfairness. But she invested 4 years of her life, Dylan. That has value. He stares at me. So did I. Sarah, I invested 4 years too. Why does her time matter more than mine? Don't have good answer for that. Divorce proceedings get ugly fast. Stephanie's lawyer argues the prenup is invalid because she was coerced into signing despite video evidence of her signing with her own attorney present. Despite her own emails saying she thought it was totally fair. They argued Dylan hid assets. He didn't. Every account was disclosed. They argue the business increased in value because of Stephanie's emotional support. She literally told him to sell it multiple times. I watch this unfold and something starts cracking in my worldview. Stephanie gives a deposition where she cries, talks about how she sacrificed her career for Dylan. She didn't sacrifice anything. She kept her same job the whole marriage. Talks about how she managed the household to support his business. They had a cleaning service and ate out 4 times a week. Talks about how the house is their home she helped build. She literally wanted to tear it down 6 months ago. I'm sitting in Dylan's lawyer's office during prep, and I just feel sick. This person I welcomed into our family is lying. Not exaggerating, not remembering differently, actively, provably lying, and the family court system is nodding along. Judge seems sympathetic to her, keeps referring to her as the disadvantaged party. She makes $90,000 a year, has no children, is 29 years old with her whole career ahead. Dylan's lawyer is excellent, though. Presents the prenup, shows it was negotiated fairly, shows Stephanie's own lawyer's notes saying she was advised it was reasonable, shows text messages where Stephanie talked about divorce strategy with her yoga friend. Messages dated from 8 months before she filed. Messages specifically discussing how to get around the prenup. One message says, "Maybe if I claim he forced me to sign." Another says, "I should get that house. It's worth almost $1 million now." I read these messages and feel like I'm going to vomit. This was planned. This was calculated. She stayed for 4 years because she thought she could break the prenup. Judge takes 2 weeks to rule. Finally, upholds the prenup fully. Stephanie gets exactly what the document says. Nothing inherited. Split of marital assets only. Amounts to about $60,000. And her car. She appeals, loses again. Throughout this 6-month nightmare, I watch my brother deteriorate. He loses 30 pounds, stops sleeping. Company starts struggling because he can't focus. One night, I stop by his apartment unannounced. He's just sitting in the dark. I turn on the light and see bottles of sleeping pills on the counter. Prescription is for 30 pills. Container is almost empty. Dated from 4 days ago. My heart stops. "Dylan, how many of these have you taken?" He looks at me with empty eyes. I take like 4 just to sleep 2 hours. Nothing feels real anymore. I call his doctor immediately. Doctor says bring him in tomorrow. Asks if Dylan is suicidal. I don't know. I ask Dylan directly. "Have you thought about hurting yourself?" Long silence. If she had gotten the business, if I'd had to sell it and fire everyone, if I lost Grandpa's house. "Sarah, I don't think I would have survived that." The words hit me like physical objects. I kept thinking about Dad's shotgun in the basement. Kept thinking it would be easier. I stay with him that whole night. We talk to his doctor, get him into therapy, adjust his medications. Slowly, over the next months, he recovers. Business stabilizes. He starts sleeping in the house again instead of avoiding it. Plants new roses in the garden where we spread Dad's ashes. One Sunday, I'm at the house helping him paint the kitchen. Radio is on. We're not really talking. Then suddenly, I just break down crying. Dylan puts down his paint roller. "What's wrong? I almost killed you." He looks confused. "Sarah, what are you talking about? I spent weeks trying to talk you out of that prenup. Weeks. If you had listened to me, if you had been less stubborn than me." Can't finish the sentence. Dylan sits down next to me on the floor. But I didn't listen. "It's okay." "It's not okay, Dylan. I was so sure I was right, so absolutely certain that about men not trusting women, men being controlling, men treating marriage like a business." He doesn't say anything. Lets me continue. I never once considered that you might need protection, that men might be vulnerable too. Wipe my eyes, try to collect my thoughts. I've spent my whole career in litigation. I've seen divorce cases. I knew the statistics intellectually, but I never really believed them. Dylan asks what statistics I mean. I laugh bitterly. Women file for divorce almost 70% of the time. Women get primary custody 80% of the time. Men pay alimony in 98% of cases where alimony is awarded. Family courts side with mothers in virtually every disputed case. Say it out loud and realize I've always known this. I've always known these numbers. I just never thought they mattered. I thought those statistics existed because men were bad husbands, bad fathers, that they deserved those outcomes. Dylan is listening carefully. Some probably are. But Sarah, I wasn't. I loved Stephanie. I worked hard, came home every night, never cheated, never lied, tried to be a good partner. He's right. He was a good husband by any measure. Stephanie just decided she wanted the assets more than the marriage. And the system would have given them to her, would have destroyed my brother's life, his livelihood, his employees' livelihoods, our family legacy. All to give a 29-year-old woman with a career and no children a payout she didn't need and hadn't earned. The prenup saved your life. Dylan nods slowly. Yeah, it really did. We sit there for a while. I'm thinking about all the times I argued against prenups, all the conversations with friends where I called them misogynistic, all the times I rolled my eyes at men who wanted legal protection, thought they were just paranoid, influenced by manosphere garbage, afraid of strong women. Never occurred to me they might be afraid of what I watched Stephanie do, afraid of a system that would let someone destroy them legally. Dylan, how did you know? How are you smart enough at 26 to insist on this when I couldn't see it at 28? He thinks about it. My business professor was divorced 3 times, lost everything twice. He pulled me aside after class one day and told me if I ever inherited anything, protect it legally before marriage. Said he didn't care if I thought he was cynical. Said love and law are different things. He was right. Yeah. And Sarah, he wasn't some bitter misogynist. He was happily remarried to his 4th wife. He had a prenup with her, too. He said it actually made the marriage better because nobody worried about ulterior motives. This is starting to reorganize my entire worldview. I go home that night and can't sleep. Keep thinking about all the men I've dismissed, all the concerns I've laughed off, all the fear I've treated as oppression. Start researching actual divorce statistics, really digging into them, not just skimming headlines. Men are 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide after divorce. Men lose contact with children 40% of the time, even with joint custody arrangements. Men pay average of 40% of income in child support and alimony combined in many states. False abuse allegations occur in roughly 20% of contentious divorces, almost always against men. Men wait average of 3 to 4 years longer to remarry. Many never do. Men report higher rates of depression, substance abuse, and financial devastation post-divorce. All these numbers I'd seen before, but filtered through my bias. Always assumed men deserved it somehow. Always found a way to make it about men's failings. Never once considered that the system itself might be structurally unfair to men. Never once considered that men might be the vulnerable party. This is what cognitive dissonance feels like. This is what being wrong feels like. Really fundamentally wrong about something I was certain of. Next week at work, litigation meeting about a divorce case. Wife is alleging emotional abuse, wants full custody in the house. No evidence of abuse, just her testimony. I usually would default to believing her. Now I'm looking at the case differently, asking questions about evidence, about corroboration, about financial motives. Senior partner notices, asks if something changed. Don't know how to explain that my brother's near-death experience rewired my brain. Just say I'm being more thorough. Case proceeds. Turns out wife was having an affair. Fabricated abuse allegations to get better settlement. We represent the husband, save his relationship with his kids. He breaks down crying in our office when judge grants 50-50 custody. I thought I'd never see them again. She told me no court would believe a father over a mother. He's not wrong to have feared that. Statistics prove he's not wrong. Months pass. Dylan is doing better. He's dating someone new, taking it slow. She asks about the house history. He tells her about the prenup situation. She says she'd sign one too if it ever got serious. Says she has assets to protect. Also thinks it's smart. I meet her. She's genuinely kind. Tells me privately she thinks what Stephanie did was evil. I can't imagine trying to take someone's family home. That's sociopathic. Realize this is what actual partnership looks like. Someone who doesn't want to take, just wants to build together. Someone who sees fairness as protecting both parties. Stephanie comes up in conversation with Mom one day. Mom says she heard Stephanie is engaged again. Already found someone new. Already planning another wedding. Didn't even wait a year. Mom seems sad about it. Says, I guess she really had moved on before the divorce. I correct her. Mom, she didn't move on. She targeted Dylan for his assets, planned an exit strategy when she realized the prenup would hold, and executed it. She's probably doing the same thing to this new guy. Mom looks shocked at my tone. Sarah, that's very harsh. Women have a right to leave marriages that don't fulfill them. Of course they do. But they don't have a right to destroy their ex-husband financially just because they're unhappy. They don't have a right to lie in court. They don't have a right to take inherited family property. Mom is quiet. You've really changed your perspective on this. I almost lost my brother because of my perspective, Mom. He almost killed himself. The only thing that saved him was a legal document I spent weeks trying to talk him out of. Mom tears up. I didn't know it got that bad, because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about male suicide rates. We don't talk about men's vulnerability. We don't talk about how the system fails them. Have similar conversation with my best friend Rachel. She's going through divorce herself, complaining about her husband, talking about taking him for everything she can. I ask why. Because I can, Sarah. Because I put up with his for 6 years. What specifically? She lists normal marriage complaints. He worked long hours. He didn't communicate enough. He forgot important dates sometimes. Nothing abusive. Nothing cruel. Just normal, imperfect human stuff. Rachel, does he deserve to lose his house over forgetting your anniversary? She gets defensive. The law says I'm entitled to half. Entitled, that word. You're entitled to destroy someone's life because you're unhappy. She gets angry. Says I've become an apologist for men. Maybe I have. Or maybe I've just become an apologist for fairness, for protecting vulnerable people regardless of gender, for not weaponizing the legal system. Few months later, sitting in Dylan's kitchen again, he's made dinner. New girlfriend is there. They're laughing. House feels alive again. Roses blooming in Dad's garden. Business just had best quarter in 3 years. Dylan pulls me aside while girlfriend is in bathroom. Thank you for being here through all of it. I know it changed how you see things. It changed everything. Dylan completely reorganized my understanding of fairness. He hugs me. You're still a good person, Sarah. You just have more information now. That's exactly what it is. More information. Information I was actively blocking before because it didn't fit my narrative. Girlfriend comes back. We eat dinner. She mentions her brother is getting married, asks Dylan if he thinks prenups are necessary. Dylan looks at me. I look at him. Absolutely. We say in unison. She laughs. That was synchronized. You two rehearsed that? No, I say we just both learned the same very expensive lesson, Dylan adds. Except I almost paid for it with everything I had. And Sarah learned by watching. Drive home that night thinking about paradigm shifts, how rare they actually are. How most people never have their fundamental assumptions challenged. How I would have gone my whole life thinking I understood gender dynamics. Thinking I understood power and vulnerability. Thinking I was on the right side. Meanwhile, I was advocating for a system that nearly killed my brother. Advocating against legal protections that saved his life. Being so certain of my righteousness, I couldn't see the harm I was causing. Get home, open laptop, look at my old social media posts. Dozens of posts about toxic masculinity, about how men need to be vulnerable, about how men need to trust women, about how prenups are evidence of misogyny. None of it completely wrong, but none of it complete either. Missing the entire other side. Missing the very real ways men are vulnerable. The very real reasons they might need protection. The very real damage that can be done to them. Start drafting a post, then delete it. This isn't something for social media. This is too nuanced, too complex, requires too much context. Instead, I just save a draft. I was wrong about prenuptial agreements. I thought they were tools of oppression. Turns out they're tools of protection for whoever is more vulnerable in a specific situation. Sometimes that's women, sometimes that's men. Fair is fair regardless of gender. Don't post it. Not ready for that conversation. Maybe never will be, but I know it's true. Few weeks later, colleague asks my opinion on prenups. Junior associate recently engaged. Fiance wants one. She's offended. Thinks it means he doesn't trust her. Old me would have validated that feeling. New me says something different. If you love him and plan to stay married, the prenup won't matter. It's just a document. But if you love him, why would you want him to be financially vulnerable to you? Why wouldn't you want him to feel secure? She looks startled. I never thought of it that way. Most people don't. We're taught that protection equals distrust, but protection equals safety. Everyone deserves to feel safe. She thinks about it. I guess I have assets I'd want to protect too. Then protect them. Both of you protect yourselves. That's not unromantic. That's mature. She leaves. Seems thoughtful, might actually listen. Senior partner was eavesdropping comments after she leaves. You've gotten more practical about domestic litigation lately. I've gotten more honest about it. He nods approvingly. Good. This field requires seeing reality, not ideology. That's exactly it. Reality versus ideology. I was living in ideology and theories about how things should work, in assumptions about who had power and who needed protection. Reality is messier. Reality is sometimes women destroy men. Sometimes men need protection. Sometimes the system designed to protect the vulnerable enables the predatory. Sometimes fair is fair regardless of whose side you're on. Another Sunday dinner at Dylan's house. He's announced he's engaged to the new girlfriend. Whole family is there celebrating. Mom asks if they're doing a prenup. Girlfriend answers before Dylan can. Absolutely. We both want one. We both have assets. We both have businesses. We both want to protect what we built before we met. Mom looks uncomfortable but doesn't argue. Dylan looks at me, raises his glass slightly. I raise mine back. Silent acknowledgement of the lesson learned, the bullet dodged, the life saved. Later, helping clean up. Girlfriend corners me. Dylan told me you originally opposed his first prenup, that you tried to talk him out of it. Feel ashamed. Yeah, I did. I was wrong. He said, you've really evolved on it. I watched what almost happened to him. Hard to maintain your ideology when it nearly kills your brother. She nods seriously. My dad got destroyed in his divorce, lost everything, barely survived it. That's why I've always known I'd want a prenup. I never want to be the person who does that to someone, and I never want it done to me. Another person shaped by watching destruction. Another person who learned the hard way that love and law are different things. I'm glad you're protecting each other. That's what it is, Sarah. We're protecting each other. Not protecting against each other. Protecting each other from the worst case scenario. That distinction matters. That's the reframe I needed. Not protecting against your spouse. Protecting each other from what could happen if things end badly. Protecting each other from the system. Protecting each other from the worst versions of yourselves in pain. Drive home. Finally feel settled about all of it. I was wrong. Comprehensively. Totally wrong. Wrong in my assumptions, wrong in my advocacy, wrong in my certainty. Dylan was right. His business professor was right. Everyone who tried to tell me that men face specific vulnerabilities was right. And I couldn't hear it because I was so invested in a narrative. Narrative where men are always powerful and women always vulnerable. Where protection for men equals oppression of women. Where fairness is defined by gender rather than circumstance. That narrative almost cost Dylan everything. His business, his home, his health, his life. The only thing that saved him was a legal document I viewed as oppressive. The only thing that protected him was the thing I wanted to prevent. Sit with that irony. Sit with how certain I was. Sit with how wrong certainty can be. Think about all the other things I'm certain about. Wonder how many are equally wrong. Wonder how much harm my certainty has caused. Probably more than I'll ever know. But at least I know about this one. At least I learned this lesson. At least I can see reality now instead of ideology. At least when Dylan's future kids ask about prenups, I'll tell them the truth. The truth about how a piece of paper saved their father's life, saved their inheritance, saved their family home, saved everything. Because fair is fair. Because protection isn't oppression. Because men are vulnerable too? Because I was wrong and being wrong nearly destroyed everything I love. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.